since there's no citizens' time, we will have no board response to citizens' time. Consideration of consent agenda. The approval of the draft minutes from April, the acceptance of the board financial report, warrants, monthly deposit record, and fund schedule, all from April 2026. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I have 2 comments on the minutes. Minor corrections. On page 6, under new business, the first item, it says public survey summary, strategic plan combined with. Does that mean combined with staff survey summary, or just combined with what?
I think the staff survey, because there's nothing else that would quite be logical in that spot.
Okay, I just wanted to make
Now,
sure.
that is exactly what it is.
Okay,
It was easier to do it that way than it was to try to split them out. So,
that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
yeah.
And then if you go down several bullet points, it says Zach Roberts reviewed should be past tense at an ED. Reviewed all the questions. And those are my 2 comments. Any others? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with that one little correction? Hello?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, called question, what did I say? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the agenda as corrected is accepted. Zach, Director's Report.
Okay, I'd like to spend a moment, Christine Snyder, the branch manager of Rockville Branch, just giving a couple quick highlights. You can sit if you'd like.
So we are moving into summer, so we're all very excited about upcoming summer reading program. We have a lot of really exciting branch and system-wide programs as well. We're very excited to actually have a programmer this year for summer reading program. The last 3 years, we've lost our youth programmer right before summer reading program. So this is very exciting. Mahjong group is exploding. We're trying to add evening sessions. It's basically infected the entire system at this point. We've had a lot of people come here, learn how to play, and then go start groups in their own branches as well. So we're very excited about that. We're trying to work closer with Hanover County to try and get some things fixed. It's sort of a stop and start process, but we're looking forward to possible refreshes and things like that in the future. So, and we are also trying to create, we just went to South Anna to talk about summer reading program with the kids, and we're hoping to do more stuff with them in the school year. And then we're also talking to the ballpark that's down the road, the Rockville School Park, and trying to create a relationship with them as well. So we're looking forward to hopefully creating stronger community ties.
Thank you very much. The next thing I'd like to do is have our webmaster, Carolyn Gardner, speak. She's going to talk about the hard work that's been going on out of the public view to refresh our public website.
So while I'm opening up the page, as Zach said, my name is Carolyn Garner. I've been with PRL for 30 years as of last Friday. I've been a Monkey Regional Library patron since since I was 4 years old, so 50 years I have been a Monkey Regional Library patron. I started out on the bookmobile, going to the bookmobile, checking out books. And it was on the bookmobile that I got interested in coding, because I used to check out the books on coding games in BASIC. So I would, type the little lines for code on the computer and make my own little games. And that sort of developed into me getting interested in doing web design later on in life. But you go ahead and... So this is our refresh website that debuted on April 24th, 2006. It kind of came about as part of our compliance with the upcoming ADA Title II deadline that was on the 24th, but that has been pushed back, or rather pushed forward a year to 2027. So, but I had everything ready to go, so we decided to go ahead and launch the website. As you can see, we've got our nice little Virginia 250 banner up, new and improved. I returned quick links with some new additions. Our new arrivals page, main programs, how do I, the slider is gone, it's down here at the bottom actually. I also have a what are we reading, which is highlighting our Syndetics Unbound content. Syndetics Unbound provides all the book covers that appear in the catalog, and they do analytics on what people click on and what people are searching for. And so they make lists, and I link to those lists on the Syndetic Unbound page for us. I also have corresponding buttons for programs and services for adults, teens, and children. Those correspond to the colors that are on our calendar. I have a link to our job search resources page, that's our subject guide. A link to story times, which is one of our most popular program categories. And then I moved the slider down here at the bottom, and as you can see, I highlighted the Virginiana collection at Hanover, Gale, legal forms, and our Libby app. And then I have our socials down there at the bottom. So our website was stuck in a rut for about 8 years. After we had switched to Circe Dynamics' enterprise web platform, we had to do that because we used to host it on our servers. We used to host our website on our servers. However, our web server started to fail in 2018, so we had to do like a rush job of getting switched over to enterprise. But as it so happened, we were also switching ILSs at the time. So we switched from iBistro to enterprise from Circe. Let's see, let's I have to check my notes, sorry. So our process for doing all of this was basically I was checking, not quite used to the new laptops yet, we just got new laptops. So our process for evaluating the website and improving it really came from a whole bunch of different feedback sources. We have Google Analytics linked to our website, which tells us, how many hits the pages are getting, how much time people are spending on the website, where they're going around the website, that sort of thing. I did a usability survey for staff on Niche Academy. So I just asked them a whole bunch of questions and asked them to rate pages and what they would change if they could change things. And I put all of that into a to-do list and tried to incorporate everything that I could. We talked to a group of Randolph-Macon college students in Ashland. They were working with Honorable Mills, the branch manager, on things they would do to refresh the branch. And so we just, sort of grouped them in together with our things as well on the website. I also asked members of the public, how they would improve the website. I got some feedback from Zach's community town halls that he held. Just putting everything together and trying to make a cohesive list of things to do. So, and that sort of feedback is ongoing. We still have, Google Analytics, we'll be checking that. I'll probably be doing another survey, probably about a year, just to see where we are. Just being continuously improving the website as things go on. We did notice a surge in traffic during the week of April 24th, so there was a lot of visits that week. We also moved our jobs page to NeoGov. So basically, what we have now on the jobs page is just sort of like a little launch pad to NeoGov. So we have the link down there at the bottom under apply for current positions. And that seems to be really taking off. We've started advertising our jobs more on social media, on our Facebook and Instagram pages. We've also advertised them more directly on the homepage, so people know that, we have open positions. And we've been getting a lot of applications each time. We used to not get as many before the website refresh, before we started doing these changes. But now we have, a much bigger pool to draw from when we have hiring periods. So, looking forward, let me go back home. We're going to be adding a couple of different things to the website. We'll be adding a page for the Hanover County Black Heritage Society. They have moved upstairs to the old admin offices of Hanover, and they will be bringing in their collections and things there. We are hoping to integrate them into the catalog as well. Some of their collections will be digitized and added. And we'll have a link on that page as well. We're also refreshing the Friends page with added visibility on Lookout. We're going to add book sales and things to our calendar so people know when it's coming up. That's been one of the frequently asked questions for us recently is, when do you have a book sale? We also have their contact information for their socials, so the Facebook pages, Instagram pages, whatever they happen to have, we'll be adding that to that page, as well as to the individual branch pages. We're also going to add a history of PRL page. PRL started off with the Hanover Branch Library. That was a Bruce library, David Bruce library, that was built back in the 30s. So there's a history there of that reaches back quite a ways. We are also going to be integrating online payments onto the website, so you'll now be able to pay stuff online. I believe we're looking at Cloud9 with Envisionware. I'm also looking at library apps to help us improve our visibility online, and they will also have payment options. So we're just trying to make it more convenient, because that's what everybody wants. They don't want to think about it. They want the convenience of being able to pay things online, and hopefully we'll be able to open that up pretty soon. As I said, I'm shopping around for a new library app. I'm going to make a report to Zach pretty soon about what I've learned. I have a couple of demos set up for next week. So hopefully we'll be able to get that started pretty soon. We are also, can I say that we're shopping around for a new ILS?
You can share, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're shopping around, we're looking, we're thinking of possibilities. And with the new ILS, we will probably be doing a new website. So this will probably change in the next couple of years, depending on, where we are with implementing a new ILS. It'll be kind of sad to see Searcy go, but, you know, we've had Searcy as an ILS provider for 23 years, since 2003. So it's been a long, strange trip. Also, we are adding a .gov domain in preparation for House Bill 707, possibly going through soon. It has not been approved yet or voted on. But, yeah, so we may have a new domain that people can purchase through as well as, you know, www.lovetheelectric.org. So, as things happen, I'll keep you updated. Does anybody have any questions about the website?
I have one question. Is it kept current in real time, like events? How often is it
Yes.
updated, things like that?
So I update the website whenever we get information. So I've got the closing notice up there about Memorial Day, and usually around the first of the month, I will put up a link to the programs, and that just goes to locale. So there's many programs, and so on June 1st, that'll roll over to June. I update the Syndetics Unbound information each month. That usually comes out, usually the first or second of the month, so as soon as that comes out, I'll update the pictures and update the links. And on June 1st, I'll swap out job search resources for another subject guide to keep people flowing into to different areas of the website. And I'll also be switching out these sliders occasionally down at the bottom. So it's not constantly, but I at least like to I'll touch it each day. So I'll be checking. And I also check the links on a quarterly basis using a link checker just to make sure everything goes to where it's supposed to be going. So if I encounter any problems, I'll update those. And we're just, you know, doing all sorts of little improvements here and there. So it's incremental. So it's not like interface all the time, but it does change.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One other nice change for somebody of my demographic who's a little younger is we do a lot on our phones. This is a mobile-friendly website where previously it was not. So if you were looking at the website from your mobile device, before it was a pretty challenging thing to navigate, whereas now this is mobile-friendly. So that's another big change too.
Well, one of the big critiques I heard after we refreshed it was that, oh, the menu, the navigation menu up top is a little smushed together. So I'm going to be spacing that out, and so it may look a little different in the next month or so as I, you know, just tweak that a little bit. But it'll look the same on the desktop, and it'll look as it does down on the phone as well.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And congratulations on 30 years. I did not.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay, a few updates from myself. So we'll start with in the news. We've been in the news several times the last month, and you know what? It's funny, as I was leaving my house today, I forgot to bring the newspaper. But last week in the local Mechanicsville newspaper, we were a front page story, top of the fold, above the fold, and it was talking about the relocation of the Hanover County Black Heritage Society's collection upstairs to the old administrative space at the building. We've begun moving a lot of their space over. I have an intern starting June 8th that's going to help us going through and beginning the hard work of inventorying a lot of the primary resources that will be part of our, what we're going to call the Heritage Collection, focused on local history and genealogy resources to serve the community. So it got into a little bit of that, so that was exciting to see. It's a really positive story of us this last week in the news. Also, last week I attended and we were on ABC 6 out of Richmond. The town of Ashland broke ground at the Pamunkey Regional Library Ashland branch for the Fall Line Trail. The start of the Fall Line Trail is actually right on the campus of our Ashland branch. So we had a little ribbon cutting for the Fall Line Trail. The town's Parks and Recs folks put it on, but they were gracious enough to allow us to participate in that. So that was a great opportunity. We had about 25 citizens show up for the ribbon cutting. A big chunk of them were part of a local bicycling group that uses the Fall Line Trail as a resource to kind of build, just build opportunities for community with that little group, but also exercise out in the community. So it was a fun little story, and the piece on ABC 6 was very nice, and we were mentioned specifically. So that was another thing of note. Quick hiring updates. We will have we've hired an assistant branch manager at the Atlee branch. They will be starting July 1st. They're moving from out of the area. Their family lives here, but they're moving back, so we're excited to have them. We have the ad for the branch manager in Mechanicsville. It actually closed last night at midnight, so we'll begin hiring for that in the coming week or two. We're excited about hiring for that. The deputy director position, I'm going to post that in the next couple weeks. That ad will be out for 30 days. I'm going to advertise it not only on the state level job site, the Virginia Library Association has what's called the jobs line page, where generally speaking, more higher level positions are advertised there, but not exclusively. And so that will get visibility from all over the region. A lot of algorithms will pull those jobs in as well that are advertised on those sites, so this will get a lot farther reach. In addition to, we will continue to advertise it. Every time we have a job ad now, we send out an email. Some of you may have seen those, we call it Orange Boy, which is the service we use for that. So we will send out "we're hiring" emails. So that gets us more reach too, because you heard Carolyn say that we're having a lot more visibility with our jobs. Part of it is because we're pushing hard to make sure that we're getting as many applicants as possible, because that helps expand our talent pool widely. So we're excited to begin the hiring process for that starting early June. I had some news yesterday. Our Atlee branch manager is leaving for a neighboring jurisdiction, and so we'll be hiring for that as well. So in the meantime, this is just scheduling. In the meantime, I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the Atlee branch, because they will be down not only a branch manager shortly, but they do not currently have their assistant branch manager. So we're going to work to fill the gap there. Next week, Ace and I are going to attend the grand opening of the Upper King William branch, formerly of Pamunkey Regional Library. We're going to go support our friends over in King County. So Ace and I are going to go over on the 28th when they're having a soft open. We have outside for you today, as you drive out, we're going to go do a walk and talk after the meeting for anybody who's interested in seeing it, but we have begun the process of doing wraps on all of our vans. We have 3 vans that provide courier service and internal use service for our mobile services department, and we've begun to wrap them. They are very professional looking. We're working with a local company in Mechanicsville to put our branding, our logo. These are traveling billboards. So, and they're a great representation of our community. One of the things in the design process that I wanted, and this wasn't my idea, I've seen other places do it, is we have a map of our service area. Because a lot of people don't realize Pamunkey's service area. And so for me, it was important to, you are a Pamunkey Regional Library branch. So anyway, we'll see that in a little bit, but I wanted to mention it here. A few other things of note. We purchased and installed, as of the 14th, a new service desk at the Montpelier Library. Our Montpelier branch is our newest branch, but when we designed that space, it was done in a way that wasn't really conducive to a public library. Somebody made a decision on a piece of furniture there that was really not a good fit, so we ended up buying a new service desk for them. We repurposed the old desk into another space in the library to give more public seating space and other things. But the new service desk is a great feature for that building. It's going to be very helpful for staff. It has more storage. Before, it was a table similar to what you're sitting at now. It could adjust up and down, but it's very difficult to store anything. It's very difficult to kind of navigate a desk. It's pretty limited. So this desk is a little bigger, but it also just has more functionality to it. I will mention here, we have the Atlee Library has a new neighbor. Juan's Tacos opened up recently.
Seems to be very popular.
You're mentioning part of the thing. It's a very popular place. I hear from the staff who've eaten there that it's delicious, but parking has become a challenge.
I was wondering about that.
We're hearing it from our side, and I've also been in contact with the communications team because they're getting a bunch of complaints in Hanover County about it as well. So what we've started to do, and over the next month or so, we're going to basically track every single complaint, because then once I have a little data, I'm going to approach Hanover County to try to come up with a solution to what can improve, if anything, the parking situation at the Atlee branch. Particularly, we're hearing complaints Friday evenings,
Yeah.
Saturdays, 100%, and it's because those restaurants are cannibalizing a lot of the parking space that our patrons would have had, or vice versa, potentially. But the reality is there's more businesses coming in there, too. So as Edward Jones, they just broke ground on that last week when I was there, because they had the records out there and stuff, hauling stuff away. So anyway, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So we're trying to be proactive as much as possible in approaching our partners in Hanover to see if there's anything that can be done about the space. So more on that as we have it. I just wanted to bring those that theme of citizens' complaints to the board, because it'll probably be a conversation in future. And those of you that know the area well, that complaint is probably not a surprise to you. Because we've been hearing this rumble for a little while that this could be something to watch. So another note I wanted to bring to the board, one of the major funding sources for PRL every year is the state aid grant. Makes up about 10% of our entire budget. One of the requirements, there's several requirements for being eligible for state aid. One of the requirements is the localities in which we serve have to increase their funding every year. And if they do not, we become ineligible for state aid, which takes away a massive chunk of money. So, and the reason they did that in the 1930s when they wrote the statute is they did not want the jurisdictions to be basically treating the state as a piggy bank to support their local public libraries. It was an incentive. It said you need to basically fund your library more every year. And that's how the statute reads. One of the problems we had in this last fiscal year is our locality funding went down.
Right.
So, and that was because we lost a locality. So we're currently working on applying for an exemption. I've been working with the Library of Virginia to get an exemption approved, because there are situations that it is acceptable. The board that oversees the state aid applications will approve it. In talking to my contacts at the Library of Virginia, they're not worried about it, but I wanted to at least bring it up to the board that is going on behind the scenes, that we are working on applying for that exemption, so we are eligible. I will just share, I was at a meetup a couple weeks ago for my peer directors in this region, the Richmond Capital region. One of the libraries, and this will be in the board amendment, or in the budget revision amendment later on, we're getting about $1,000, a little less, in state aid money than we planned. And it was because a jurisdiction became ineligible this fiscal year because they did not meet the requirements, so they lost it all. And so what the Library of Virginia does is basically then divvies it out among all the others. So we benefited from their pain, but that threat is real. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that forward. Okay. Other than that, that's all I have for my director's report.
I'd like to say briefly, Zach, I attended the event that Hanover County put on for the older people like me and my wife. And Ace is laughing, so I want you to notice that. But it was really a great event because it showcased a lot of the nonprofits and others that are in the area that can service the older people. It was great to see the library there, and I think it was the first, because I've gone almost every year, first time I've seen the library at the event. I'm not sure that that's accurate or not, but it was pleasant to walk down and talk to the staff there from Atlee.
Yeah.
And I think that they got some traffic, and I think that's an important way to introduce the library and their programs to people like me.
Yeah.
All right, and get them to be, and recognize that there's ways that they can get involved and even maybe find ways of supporting them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing to do.
I will just mention, it wasn't on my conversation today, but one of the things that for next year, we're currently in the evaluation process.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that for next year, every branch manager has as a branch goal is to begin increasing outreach. And what I define as outreach is relationships outside of our traditional ones that we're currently doing. So new partnerships, new community organizations, and then I've given them all a set number that I want them to increase their branches' outreach to. So that's part of that initiative for sure.
That's good, because the other organizations there probably can find ways themselves to do partnerships with the library.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Any other questions for Zach from the board? Hearing none. Dennis?
I don't have any formal update this morning. As I mentioned previously, the General Assembly has not yet agreed on a budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, so I haven't heard of any major differences that might impact the localities, which might indirectly impact the library, but we're still all sort of in the waiting and holding phase for that.
Okay, thank you. Standing committee reports. I have no report for the financial committee. Personnel?
We are going to be sending out the direct review this week and for it to be turned in by the board by June 10th so that we can have that discussion at our next board meeting about the directory review.
Thank you. Old business, the meeting schedule for 26-27. I think we all have a copy of it in our pack. We did receive a few comments from Christy this morning, making a few changes. Zach, will you just implement those?
Yep.
And send them out to everybody?
Yep, so for the record, I can read kind of a summation of the suggestions from, we want to add the Hanover branch into the rotation. Also, changing the schedule currently has this July as well as July of 25 and 26, both July meetings happen to have been canceled and they both happen to be at Atlee. So the suggestion was not to anticipate that we might cancel, but it's always the possibility. So to change that schedule so that Atlee's not always falling on the month that's canceled. And then a couple specific changes of adding Hanover into the rotation for the 26, the rest of 26, as well as the calendar year of 2027.
So Zach, you will make those changes and just send them out to us?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments about the schedule? All right, let's move on to new business.
Do we want to have, a motion to vote to approve this? Or do we want to wait until next meeting?
Why don't we wait until we get the revisions?
Okay.
Is that all right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, new business, staff bonus, merit and base bonus. You also received information in your packets about this.
So you have a few things in your packet, a couple different pages here. So just to go over this, so I'm proposing for FY26 a staff bonus using some of the remaining funds inside of our salaries and benefits line item. There's two different pieces of this, and I'll kind of lay them out here, and then I'll break them down a little further and answer any questions that the board has. So there's two pieces of this. Traditionally, what we have done as an organization is we have, when our partners in Hanover particularly offer a staff bonus to their team, we have historically matched their bonus if we had remaining funds. It's not an every year thing, but it has happened the last several years. So the first piece of my proposal is to, again this year, match the what I'm calling in the paperwork here the base bonus. So we would give all of our full-time employees as of May 1st, 2026, a $350 one-time bonus. For all of our part-timers, we have 80. As of May 1st, 2026, they would receive a one-time bonus of $175. You see the total breakdown there. The cost of the full-time base bonus would be $8,400, and the base bonus for the part-time employees would be $14,000. Then, in addition to, I am proposing something that we have not done in the past, as far as any of us were aware, a performance bonus. This is tied to an employee's evaluation process. Those employees that achieve a high performance bonus would receive a one-time additional bonus of $1,000. There are 30 employees system-wide out of our almost 120 that would get this. So it's about 1/4 of the staff would qualify as receiving the performance bonus. That funds would be, or that total amount for that to fund that would be $30,000. So the entire proposed cost of the bonuses is $52,400. You see the second page there is a little different breakdown, just breaking down the total numbers as well as the amounts that I'm proposing. One of the things about this year, so the way and I'll just kind of answer, I'll answer your questions, but I'll kind of lay out how this process works, particularly with the performance bonuses. So every year, all of our staff get a evaluation process. Historically, one of the first criticisms I heard when I came in is a frustration from staff that really it was very difficult for everyone got the same thing. Regardless of high quality work or low quality work, it was a consistent across the board theme. And just my personal philosophy on that, it's really hard to be a high performer when you look around and wonder why you're working so hard when others aren't. So for me, it's just philosophically, I want to reward good performance. So this year, our evaluation process is actually the same that Hanover used many years ago, and we've kept it in place. It's something that's on my radar of something I'd like to upgrade in the future, but one of the things I came in early on and told my managers is this year, the evaluation needs to be an honest reflection of both the great things that are going on in your building when it comes to staffing, as well as the poor things that are going on with your staffing. So we're using the evaluation process this year to accurately reflect our team's work throughout the evaluation year. This review process that I went through, this is not necessarily normal, but this year, because there is no deputy director, we have vacancies in a couple places. It meant that I looked at every single evaluation this year. I reviewed every one of them. Every one of these top performers, and the branch managers that will hear this recording later, they can attest that I questioned every single above performance. I wanted to hear why. Sometimes I needed more information to understand that, because here's the thing, and the metaphor I used a couple times with folks is, if you had the power to clone your best employee, who would it be? And why? That sounds like a top performer to me. So that was kind of the bar, we said. Most of our locations, all of our locations had at least one, and there were several that had multiples, which is great. And so this is kind of just philosophically taking a little bit of our funds that we have remaining this year and saying thank you. Understanding that this is not a guarantee. This is based on available funds, as well as starting next year as we launch the strategic plan. A portion of the strategic plan for next year, and I've talked to our friends at Hanover County who are going to help with this because they have inside of their HR department somebody who his entire job is to do compensation review. He's going to help us. They did this several years ago as well, kind of looking at our organizational structure. I've received some very useful documents from our friends at Henrico as well as Chesterfield, our closest near peer library systems, to kind of help us with making informed decisions on. So this is also just reflecting the fact that our top folks get a little extra if this is approved. So that's kind of my piece. What questions does the board have?
I have a question. Can a top performer be a full-time or part-timer?
Correct.
Okay.
Christy's calling in just by the way. Hi, Christy, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Awesome. We're just on questions about the information on the staff bonusing structure.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
You're good.
I will just make a comment about, I like this idea for, it's especially timely because of staff retention. I think that we need to remain competitive. I love incentive, and that they will, for the first time in a long time, see an actual dollar amount for incentive to work harder and better. And you're right, it's hard to watch people who are all on the spectrum in terms of their effectiveness at a job all get the same bonus. So I like recognizing hard workers.
Zach, this is Barb.
Yes.
I just wanted to reiterate what Barbara just said. I agree very much that I love the idea of us doing reward to those people who are working really hard. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. One of the things that I will just say here is in my communication to staff about this, it's going to be my goal would be everyone elevates their work to get this. I mean, I would love that, but this is also not a guarantee year to year. This is as we go through the year. Maybe it's something we do every year, maybe it's something we don't, but this is not a guarantee. It should not become an expectation or an entitlement. It really is we have the funds available, and the reality is too, is the reason we have the funds available this year is because there was some vacancy. Vacancy means there's harder work. Like we're working to pick up the slack, and that's a reflection of this too. Not just the base bonus, because that's a big piece of this too, but it's also the performance bonus. We know we're relying more on our staff when there are vacancies, when there's somebody out, those kind of things. So that's also kind of a reflection of this money comes from the fact that there's there's those temporary vacancies as we work to fill jobs, so,
Zach,
yes, sir.
I think it's also important to note something that you mentioned, and that is, under the circumstances, you did a post-review of all the performance evaluations.
Yeah.
Which I think is important for a couple of reasons. One is that you become familiar with each employee, their performance, and you work with a direct supervisor to help them understand what exceptional is, what superior is, what creativity means, and not just coming to work and I'm here and I do my job and I've been here for whatever years.
Yeah.
So hats off to you for doing that. I think that was very smart and timely.
Zach, I've been on the board almost, 3 years? And it's one of the first things that I sought. How are we making these evaluations to give the staff any kind of incentive if everybody's going to get 3% or 5%?
Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of sense to me. And it's one of the first things that when I was on the personnel committee was, how do we do that? And I'm glad you're doing it. I don't understand all of the logic that you have for determining the exact amounts or how you're going to consider that in the future. Even incentives don't all have to be the same amount.
Sure.
All right, so there has to be some evaluation as to what is and what you apply in order to do that. But I am really glad you're doing this because I do hope that will give the staff more incentive for staying with the library.
Well, this mirrors Hanover, correct?
The base.
The base.
The base does.
The base does.
I actually don't know if they do any type of performance awards. I have no idea.
Are you working towards making this more of a permanent thing though, like where every year we're doing reviews and there is some kind of incentive? Or
Well, to be honest, part of my push for this year is the fact that I understand all too well, and I'll just give one anecdotal piece of evidence that just happened yesterday. We have a branch manager leaving a position for more money.
Right.
Exactly.
No, I understand that.
And so for me, this is partly just to make sure we're able to say to those top folks, hang with us. Because $1,000 is a lot of money.
Right, no, I agree.
And for me, it's just so I would like to figure out a way to do this in some aspect annually, but it doesn't have to be in this form. It can be some way else. And to me, this was kind of an opportunity to say, with some funds where we were already considering a bonus for the base bonus, and so it was kind of just in addition to. It does not have to be this way every year. This is not in our policy currently, so there is no expectation that this is a guarantee every year, because this is kind of a one-time, every year we could go to the board. So
I think maybe we need to think about though in our budget in the future about what that looks like
sure.
in the future. I think sitting there saying it's a one-time only thing might be also a little disheartening to hear.
Sure. Yeah.
And to keep retention up.
Yeah.
It might be something.
I'm definitely interested in doing something.
Okay.
What it is in actuality, it could change from this, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, not to compare this to a nonprofit like I managed, the board was very involved with trying to determine to evaluate this kind of a situation and to help assist. One of the things that they did do is that if it were, and depending on where we were in our budget, all right, and our ability to accumulate resources and reward the staff as a whole, we had a requirement to set aside a certain portion of that for bonuses for this purpose. So, and that's something we could do, all right? Not saying you have to do it every year. It has to depend on how you're growing and your resources are growing with you. But yeah, there are opportunities for doing it
Sure.
that are outside the county.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Zach, again, just to dovetail on what Bob and Jody just said, I think it's very important to note that this is part and parcel of a compensation program. And so when you have this study, this compensation study, it may mean that this needs to be enhanced or remediated in terms of where salaries and wages are at this point. They may need to be raised, they may need to be adjusted. And we do this at the state with 100,000 employees, including the Library of Virginia, on a routine basis. So I think it's very smart to include that as part of the paradigm that we're seeing now, this change to improve retention and reduce turnover. I think it's very smart. Don't you agree, Evan?
Yeah, I do. I think we can make a lot of speculations about what the years to come are going to look like. But I think for right now, this is a good way to reward people who are working harder. And if anything, it's worth raising staff morale. And if we look at this as part of, as you said, the broader mission of consolidating a lot of these, as you mentioned when you came on, we have a lot of kind of floating part-time positions that we're looking to consolidate. And I think if we look at this effort as part and parcel of that, we can certainly justify doing this year.
Yeah. And I will just say, because that's a great point, the evaluation process, as we look to consolidate positions kind of very part-time into more full-time roles as they become vacant, the evaluation and those people that are top performers are going to be getting the opportunities first of those consolidations. So when an existing part-timer, we have hours available, we will, it's not a change in pay, it's not affecting the job, except they're getting the additional hours. And those will be prioritized on people that are giving us that above proficient. So that's another way that this will kind of be used over time as well. So.
All right. Is this something we need to?
We did last year, and yeah. So I'm just asking for a, and if you want to do them separately, like if you want to do base bonus or performance, or you want to do them just all as one, I'll leave that to you.
I would prefer to do them all as one.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, may I have a motion to accept the staff bonus proposal as written by Zach?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, it is approved. I mean, no opposition. It is approved.
No nays.
Sorry.
We do have to vote on it.
Like individually?
No, we just say all those in favor. Say aye.
Okay.
Vote the motion.
So
Bob, okay, let's start over. I would like to, somebody to please make a motion to accept the staff bonus, merit and base bonus as presented by Zach today.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Please.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, the motion has passed.
Okay, Barbara, real quick, who made the motion and who seconded it?
Bob made the motion and Evan seconded it.
Great, thank you.
All right, we move on to fiscal year 2027 budget approval.
Okay, so the boards of supervisors of both Hanover County and Goochland County have approved our budget request as part of their budget process. April was the Hanover County vote, and then May, the first week in May, was the Goochland County vote, and I'm excited to report that our county partners have agreed to fund a lot of the projects that the Board of Trustees approved earlier in the year. Additional funds for our our staff's cost of living, additional funds for technology infrastructure updates, as well as platform updates. One of the things that I will, since you can see it, you do have the paperwork in your packet. So this is not changed at all from our January meeting when we reapproved. The one thing I will mention is, as you recall in the fall, we did have a budget that we passed in October that included additional staffing requests from our county partners, and that is not included. Just a reminder for those folks listening, we did originally ask for additional funding, but that was taken out early this year. The other big change that this budget reflects is the paying for of the administrative space from our county partners. So our county partners are now paying the rent on our administrative space in this budget. That is a change because since 2021, the board has had to approve reserve fund allocations for that purpose. So this budget is also reflecting that as well. So you kind of see here on the chart the breakdown of 26 versus the 27 budget that was approved by our county partners. You see the big change there on the reserve fund because this fiscal year 26, the Board of Trustees approved $164,000, $108,000 for the rent of the administrative space, and then a $59,000 amount for the books and materials line item, because when King William pulled out, we didn't want to dramatically lower that. So that's the big drop down you see there.
Mm-hmm.
You have on your second page there just a breakdown per branch costs. Just a reminder, the branches and the staff in them are paid by the partners, and then the shared expense is broken out. 82% Hanover, 18% Goochland. So that's kind of where you see these number variations. That's the breakdown of these numbers. So that's what we're looking at here. And this is just for informational purposes. You can see fiscal year 23 all the way to fiscal year 27, the breakdown of what our total budget was for those operating years, as well as the increases in salary those years and health insurance. So that's just information for your information. So you've seen because of our county partners leaving, we are finally at the point where we're getting back to 2023 fiscal year levels, pretty close. Mm-hmm. So that's just information. Anyway, so what are there any questions about the budgets that I presented? I did it a little more thorough in the fall because, of course, it was all new, and of course the board's already seen this a couple times. So, are there any questions or comments?
I just have a quick question about books and materials, and just looking ahead, are we going to be able to let's see, what suppliers are filling the void, the Baker-Taylor void, such that we will not have this?
Largely, Ingram.
Okay.
And Ingram has done a decent job. That's who we're using. There were a couple others out there. Like, for example, when I was at the Public Library Association conference in April, I talked to Amazon. Starting July 1st, Amazon is going to roll out, not only, they do a lot of book sales to libraries already. One of the things we rely heavily on at PRL, because we only have 3 full-time staff members inside of our collection strategies department, which, imagine for a moment 3 people trying to process thousands of books that we take in every year. That'd be impossible. So we rely on our vendors to a large degree to process the material for us, so that when it comes in, it has the records attached to our internal systems, it has the physical labels, the covers that protect the books and make them last longer. So they do a lot of the physical processing for us. When Baker and Taylor went out, there was not an infrastructure built up to really go to other vendors and do that well. And those that were out there that were doing it were swamped by everybody that was abandoning ship because Baker and Taylor had left. They have been improving. When Baker and Taylor first went down late last year, we were getting about 1/3 of our orders filled at that time. Now it's much higher. It's not 100%, but it is much higher. And we expect to continue to improve. One of the things that I've been pushing for is, continuing to, and Jeff Huff, our collection strategies librarian, has done a really good job working with vendors to find those additional, not putting all of our eggs into one basket. We've learned a good lesson, like every other library in the whole country, not to do that. So we're continuing to find opportunities where we can kind of find what we need from other sources as well.
Does Amazon process the books?
They will start doing that July 1st for public libraries. So as they get that service rolled out, it will mean that we have one more additional kind of tool in the tool belt that we could rely on if we want to. One of the things that I was talking to the liaisons at the conference is I said, first of all, I want to diversify, but also I want it cheaper. Because if we can, one of the things I've been talking to the board about, but also internally, every staff members, cost optimization. Where can we do something that we're currently doing and do it cheaper or better? Amazon, for their faults, they do a wonderful product. And they've been in the book business for 30-something years. So this is not a new thing to them. So if we can find them providing the service better or cheaper, it's always good to have options in this business and everything. So anyway, we're going to keep watching that, and we're going to keep evaluating as we go.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any more questions on fiscal year 2027 budget? 26 budget revision.
Can we get a vote on approving this budget?
Oh, sorry about that. This is terrible. May I have a motion to approve the PRL proposed fiscal 2027 budget?
So moved.
Second. Oops.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Barbara, once again, who made the motion and who seconded? I didn't catch it.
Evan made the motion.
Evan made the motion and Jody seconded.
Okay, say that again.
Evan made the motion
Motion.
and Jody seconded it.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Well, hearing no opposition is passed. And now we can discuss the 26 revisions.
Okay. So the red is, looking at your packet here, the red is kind of and this is basically, we're almost at the end of our fiscal year. So Ace and I, and credit to Ace, he's been working behind the scenes to kind of evaluate where we were going to have a little extra or need a little extra. So these numbers are kind of right-sizing our current funding. So as you see, we have a little bit of money left over in our continuing education. That was largely because with the deputy director position, I'm not going to attend the American Library Association conference this summer, so we have those funds available, as well as the big chunk is because of staff vacancies, particularly early in the fiscal year, the library director was a vacant position, as well as our collections management librarian and our systems engineer. Those are now filled positions, but earlier in the fiscal year, those were vacant. So we're going to have $75,000 that is not anticipated to be needed in that line item, as well as our telephone and utility line items. We reduced those a little bit to reflect just the fact that we didn't spend as much as we anticipated. So the proposal is on the next page. This will show you, this will kind of show you the proposed numbers. You see most of the additional money we're asking for to go into our equipment line item to fund the refresh of our branch's self-check machines. Right now, we're working with the vendor to replace our Atlee in Mechanicsville. The last month's revisions, all of that money went to that investment. And then if the board approves this revision, we anticipate that we will finish up almost entirely the refresh of the self-check machines, that project. So we're waiting on final numbers now for all the other branches. Ace and I have been back and forth in the last couple days with that vendor trying to get that updated quote. But we anticipate that if the board approves this revision, then that would be able to take out that major project in this fiscal year, which is exciting.
Okay. Ace, thank you for finding all that. That's wonderful. Any discussion on the revision? Do we need to vote on this?
Yeah.
We do, okay. May I have a motion to approve the 26 budget revision?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion has passed. All right, the Hanover feasibility study.
Okay. You all have this in your packets. I'll have it on the screen as well. So a big thank you to Dana Fox, the General Services Director at Hanover County, who's been working closely with me and the vendor on this project, getting this feasibility study off. Just a little background. The Hanover branch is our oldest branch. It opened to the public in 1941. And it has not been refreshed since the 1980s. A lot of just a fun fact for the board, the current branch manager there, Madhu, has been going to that branch for over 40 years with her children first. And there are 2 yellow winged armchairs in that building that have been there every day she's been coming. So this space needs a bit of TLC. The other reality is it has had some neglect of the building that is unrelated to the library. We're not going to be working on fixing the water issues down in the basement, the asbestos tiles, the mold. We're not going to be working on that, but this will be in conjunction with that needed work to make sure that we're kind of from top to bottom refreshing the space. So this feasibility study is not talking about the basement issues that I've mentioned in public session before, but it is a part of this where Hanover County is waiting for us to consider what we're going to do, because then we can sync up our timelines. That way it's not a big, that way we're not closing down for one project and then doing it again for another. We're kind of seeing which direction we want to go in before we start working on those needed repairs. So the first page is just kind of giving a layout, and I'll editorialize. When they first came in, when the contractor came in, this is the same company that did the ramp work, by the way. They have a history of doing library projects in the region. I actually met these folks for the first time at the Virginia Library Association annual conference last year, which they attended, so I was talking to them about that then. And one of the things I said, which was important for this building, and this is in talking to staff, this is talking the town hall that we did in the fall. This is a historic and charming building. And any work that we do here, we want it to modernize it, we want it to refresh it, but we also want to keep the historic character. We want to keep those charming features that are unique to an 85-year-old building. So that was important to me to make sure we really did a good job of making sure that it was still a cute, charming place, that the patrons who go there, they could go to Atlee, they could go to Mechanicsville, and during the ramp closure, a lot of them did because of accessibility issues. but a bunch of the people that go to our Hanover branch go there because they love it there. So keeping that kind of that charm that that building has was important, and you will kind of see that reflected in some of the notes. So just highlighting a few pictures, they took some pictures of the current spaces. Really what this project is really highlighting is the fact that the space is crowded. I'm actually going to skip the basement for the purposes of just demonstrating, but of course if there's any questions about it. This is the main floor. This is currently as it exists. You see the large interior commons in the bottom left, as well as the adult section. Then we have our small use section up in the top left corner, as well as a break room, which is currently a break room / branch manager's office. And then we have the 2 bathrooms over on the side. The other space here on this bottom floor is the meeting room. This meeting room is pretty small, as many of you have been there. It's not the reason the Board of Trustees has historically not met there is because the board would take up the whole room. So, or the mass majority of it. So that's just kind of a layout of our current bottom floor, or main floor, excuse me. This is the current upstairs. So just a little history. This was mainly from the 1990s till 2021. This was administrative space. So the library director's office was right here. We had our business operations manager and secretary on this side. We had our supervising librarians and other staff kind of in these cubicles. And then we also had a storage room that was part kitchenette, part storage room. It had a table at one time back there, so it was a little bit of everything. So this administrative space on the top floor, you will see in future slides. Part of the purpose of this is to make it a usable public space again. Back in the day, it was a public space. Originally, they had the youth area up here. That was stopped sometime, I guess, in the 90s when it just was a little challenging to get the kids up the stairs, and it was relocated down to the main floor. So you see a few of the, you see on page 8, they kind of go into some examples of things that they see they're talking about. Are similar things to kind of what I mentioned. The meeting room is small, it's kind of disjointed. Some of the features, like for example, the built-in bookends, this project would keep a lot of those little historical things that are kind of just cool features of the building. The common area, particularly the desk, is cramped and not ideal for circulation. One of my main things when I came in, and for those of you who've been in there recently, you'll remember, right as you walk in the front door, you have this big honking desk right at the front. And it kind of unintentionally breaks the room apart. It also is just not perfect for sight lines for the room because you have the ability to look at the front door, but the majority of people come in from the ramp in the parking lot. So there's no ability, so someone could walk in that door and you'd never see them. So one of my focuses, not only for operational security, I want visibility of that door for security purposes, but I also want it to not break up the entire room with this big desk. So that was one of my main points. So you see a few of their suggestions. Provide a space that is brighter, and this is from feedback with myself as well as the library staff. Replace and reorient the circulation desk. Create better technology and study area. Create a dedicated area for information exchange and checkout, printing, and book sales. That's kind of consolidating our big service desk over into a new spot, which I'll show you in the layout here in a moment. Retain and build upon the existing charm. Preserve the strong existing elements such as the build-ins and millwork trim as much as possible. Make minimal upgrades to the exterior where necessary to maintain and extend the life of the building envelope. Now I will say with this one, this is out of our hands. Anything outside of this building, because it's on the historic campus, that's outside of our zone. And Hanover will work with us if any work is needed, like we did with the ramp. They will deal with that work if it's needed, and I'm not sure what their plan is for that. Okay. So page 11 is the current existing layout. Now, one of the things they did in page 11 is they have little numbers that are delineating what the actions that they're suggesting are. So like, for example, number 1, which is the adjoining walls next to the youth services area currently, their proposal, and I'll show you the design here on the next slide, but their proposal is to take out, demolish partitions separating the children's reading room to create more flow to the rest of the building. You see number 2 here, which is the adjoining door next to the current bathrooms into the main interior commons. Remove existing door and widen threshold to increase sightlines. So this was partly to create a better visibility of that back ramp that most of the patrons are coming in, but it also gives better accessibility too, because the reality is some people are coming in that ramp with wheelchairs, canes, walkers, those kind of things. And right now, as you can imagine with an 85-year-old building, the doors are not always as wide as they could be. So that's the purpose of that one. Number 3, remove existing center shelving. So that is looking at our main adult and teen room currently, giving that space just different, more mobile furniture, which I will show you later. Number 4, demolish the built-in shelving behind the current service desk. So that's taking out this adjoining wall with the bathrooms. That's removing that because that area is going to change once the service desk is relocated, which you'll see here on number 5. Remove and replace the current circulation desk. That's actually going to move to a different location in the building. Like I say, you see from this visibility, it's right in the dead center and it kind of breaks the room. And then remove the computers and relocate to the current meeting room. So I'll show you on the next couple slides the proposal to change around where we have the meeting room as well as the computers. So you see that by the stairwell up here to the left. Same thing on the top, and it's largely just working with getting the existing furniture out. Yesterday, we sold the current cubicles upstairs. Our neighbors in Powhatan, the public school there, bought them for a staggering $10. So don't get excited. But it will be nice to have them, find a new life elsewhere, but also get them out of our way. These cubicles have been up there since before I was born. So they're old, and they work, but they've been up there for over 40 years apparently. Okay, so on page 13 here, we're looking at the proposed design of the main floor. So a lot changed with this, so I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit of what changed. We are working to change the youth service space and the adult space around. They're literally going to switch. Now, you recall on the previous design, we had the adult and the teen space over here. So this new way of doing it would move our youth services space into its own dedicated space. It would also be done in a way where we would have the teen collection as well in there. But the furniture we're going to choose, you see in number 2 there, mobile furniture and shelving to create a multi-purpose space for larger events. So the design of this space will include the ability to host our programs in a larger room in the current, what would be the youth services space. As a former children's librarian long ago, it is awesome to have the kids have the ability to be in the same room with the books and the materials, because the reality is some kids, like me probably growing up, they were distracted by everything. I want them to go over during the story time, pull out a book, and then take it to mom or dad to check out later. Like having them all in that one space is really, it's a really unique opportunity. This would also make the space for the youth services a lot bigger. Right now, the current existing space, this would be more than twice the square footage of our current youth services space. It's just small, and it's not an ideal space for, you imagine for a moment you have a family come in and you have car seats or strollers. It's just very difficult in the current small space. So giving them a bigger focus, but also creating it in a way where it can be multifunctioning. It can be multi-purposed. So when our programmer is going to have a story time there, they can take all the furniture, roll it, it's on casters, so it just moves, and then they can put it back when it's done. So it gives us the ability to kind of adapt the room over time, where right now, all of our furniture is fixed furniture. So there's no flexibility, there's no ability to kind of change it. Then the adults would get a little bit bigger space because we are eliminating the break room in the manager's office that is currently on the main floor. So we're blowing out that wall and expanding the current adult space. You will see a lot of change in the main area. It's much more of an open space where we'll have, displays, but the books and materials are no longer going to be the dominant focus of that space. It's going to be more of you see the circulation desk is kind of moved up to the wall, where that way and in fact this design is a little, needs tweaked slightly, because what we want is we want visibility to that back door on that ramp, so that number 3 would likely come over a hair. But anyway, then you see the additional reading area space. So we already have some tables and chairs available in that space, but it's really refreshing it and putting it all together. We will still have some shelving in that main area you see on the walls here, and those will be more for local displays for the month, bestsellers, potentially the magazines, things like that. But right now, for example, we have the Virginiana collection that in the next slide you'll see the plan. It's to move all of that upstairs. So all of that local history and genealogy resources will go upstairs in this next slide here. So on the top floor, the old administrative space, we're going to put in some additional shelving. Also use some of the existing shelving that is in good shape and that kind of has that character that we talked about. And we will move the Virginiana collection upstairs, as well as the heritage collection that we will process. That'll be kind of part of this overall local history and genealogy space. We'll have we have multiple databases currently. We have Heritage Quest as well as Ancestry.com, so we'll set up a computer up here so that patrons can come in and do some of their genealogy resources. We'll also have our microfiche machine go here. Currently it's just in storage, but it will be able to be used there. And then a big feature of this space is going to be the changing of our current meeting room. So this is a really nice sized meeting room that currently is a large part storage, staff break room, just miscellaneous stuff. And this will allow for us to have local history, genealogy programs, as well as anything else the branch wants to do. They can host meetings and events up here. Once again, the furniture that will be put in there will allow for some flexibility. It's not going to be just a big wooden table that can't move. This is going to be kind of done in a way where it can have some functionality depending on what the event or what the program is. One of the things that, in talking to the branch manager Madu, excuse me, we used to do a lot of programs with the Hanover Tavern. Pre-COVID, we'd have them come in and do lectures. This is a perfect space as part of our local history collection that's up here for that kind of a thing, those kind of meetings and events. So it'll give us an opportunity to kind of grow that muscle. And then you see the brownish is going to be staff offices, including break rooms and things like that. So that this space is changing pretty dramatically as well. Any, I'll show you one more thing here, the very last page. This is just a conceptual design. One of the things we talked about with the staff there that we incorporated in is some of the re-engineering work will include sound minimizing features. So some of the furniture we have, some of the artistic, which these are acoustic tiles that are on the ceiling there in this rendering, it'll kind of help dampen down that natural children noise, particularly in the youth services space. One of the funny complaints that I've gotten over my career, and this is mostly coming from folks that remember the library from the old shushing librarian days, those have been gone for my entire career. Like, the library is no longer expected to be a quiet place because we have children's programs, we have music in motion, we have these events where we'll bring in dogs and you read to them. Like, it's not a quiet place, but we do like to add quiet places to our libraries so that people that need that have that feature. When we can make choices like buying furniture that specifically is designed to kind of minimize the acoustic, features, we try to do that as well in projects like this to kind of reflect the fact that we do want to keep, the fun and frivolity that's happening in the story time down to a dull roar. So, that's just a note on this piece. Any questions or conversations on the feasibility study?
Just have a real quick question about, I guess terminology is what I'm thinking. As I was looking at these things, it's always called the youth section. So I'm assuming that term, the teen section or the youth section is children and teens? Is that what I understand?
It can be, and right now we largely have it depending on the location and the availability of space. A lot of our teen spaces are actually separate from the children's section.
Right.
And we may do that here too. To some degree, it's going to depend on how much of the collection we're able to fit into that room. Because right now, one of the things, and it's not up on the screen, but one of the things we have now in the adult section is all of our teen collection at this branch. And that may be something we continue to do. Because obviously, for Hanover branch, it's not a big collection. The teen volumes there are literally on a handful of shelves just because the audience really isn't at that branch for those materials. So that is something that is currently happening at the Hanover branch, yes.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask about just real quickly, and I know that, you're going to eventually, we'll look at the elevator type stuff too, but
Yeah.
For the staff, having their offices up on that third floor, is that going to create issues if they have things that, collections that they've worked on, that they have to get them downstairs?
It is it is a concern of some of the staff that are there. What we're trying to do with this is create a service desk that is flexible enough so that they can kind of do work on it. So for example, you have a program that's a staff member that's working on a program or a display while they're on the service desk. Now, that doesn't always happen at the Hanover branch, but it could theoretically. And so when we buy a service desk, we definitely, just like what we did at the Montpelier branch, one of the reasons we got rid of that branch is because it was so small, they weren't able to do anything. On the desk, they could help a patron, that brought up books, but then as soon as somebody brought up a stack of books, then they'd have to move their take and make kit off to the side, throw it, on this folding table behind the desk. So anyway, the furniture selection will be important there because then it could give the staff that are on the service desk the ability to kind of have multiple things going on at one time, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you going to propose this to the public or patrons of that area? My biggest concern is having that one big meeting room upstairs, and if a lot of your patrons have issues with mobility,
Yep.
how is that going to work out?
Well, one of the next things I am going to talk about, because in my initial conversations with the contractor and Hanover County, one of the things I pushed for was at least investigating the idea of putting in an elevator for the branch. So if you actually look at the next document, the elevator exploration, this is where the contractor dug into that. And you will see on there, they had a few different options that they suggested. Now, part of the complicating factor of this building, in talking to Hanover, oh yes, the historic nature of this building means we cannot add something on the outside. We can't change anything exteriorly, which did pretty dramatically limit our elevator options. And the assessment of the vendor is there is not a good elevator option for this building.
Right.
Now, the other thing that I mentioned, and it is not, I think, a great fix, but it is an option at least for us to consider. The stairs going up to the top floor are not built in a standard conventional way. If you have a third floor on your house, this stairwell probably is at least 6 inches, if not more, narrow than what you would see in your normal traditional house. Putting something like a stair lift or some type of like seat option where somebody could ride it up, theoretically, it could be done. It's not ideal. But it is an option. One of the things that I'll probably talk to them about is there a way to rework a stair lift option so that it cuts into the sheetrock and drywall so it's not jutting out? Because if you imagine, there's a lot of stair lifts or chair lifts that do this kind of thing where it will fold down. So a patron, you can fold it down if they need to sit on it, ride it up, and then it would be there. But the problem is because of the way the stairwell is so narrow already, anything that juts out into the stairwell is just going to make it even narrower. So it's not ideal, but there is the potential that it can be reworked into the drywall so that it's flush. That could be a potential option.
Are you going to, is this going to get proposed though to the general public?
It will. So the next stage, if you guys are in agreement, there's no cost here yet. We've already paid for the feasibility study. A couple months ago, the board approved that allocation. So if you guys, at least in principle, like the idea, if there's any changes you think that we should make with this, my next step is the Hanover staff and then the public, which includes like our friends groups. They know well this. So this is kind of the first stop on the feedback tour that will last for a few months, just kind of soliciting what people think.
And because it's a historic building and not having an elevator access, are we just grandfathered in from like any ADA?
Yeah, there's no requirement for this building to have that kind of thing. It is the only building on the campus, apart from the old jail, that does not have an elevator.
Okay. Make sure we're not flying over anything.
Madam Chair, if I can just add something, and I didn't hear it, and if it was addressed, certainly I apologize. And it's something that I think the board should just keep in mind. And I don't know, Zach, can you go back to any of the floor one, actually what the existing one is?
Yes.
And it's just something that the board should think about before they put it out to the public. So if you look at the existing area where the youth services is, you'll see that there's a doorway and a staircase from there, and the proposed renovation replaces that with a window.
Yeah.
I had heard from a previous director that because this building is so old, the entrances used to be segregated, and that entrance was the one that was used by Black patrons for the library. So I think if that is in fact the case, and I may be wrong, it's just sort of anecdotal, I think that probably should be considered in terms of, even if it is removed, realize that there may be some reaction to that. I'm not saying it will be a bad reaction, but there may be something to just sort of do that intentional rather than just be functional, or removing the doorway.
I will say, because we did heavily talk about that, that is actually that door there is going to be untouched. Now, it's not going to be usable to the public because that decking there is not safe anymore. You cannot go in that door. So everything will aesthetically stay exactly the same. It won't be touched, but it's not a usable,
Yeah,
it's going to continue to be a non-usable entrance.
And it currently isn't used, but especially knowing the community in Hanover is old enough, there are probably patrons who go there when it was in the 40s and 50s. And so I just raised that because the last thing we would want to do is sort of have the board bless a program and then have some feedback, have some pushback on something that can be avoided with just some conversation to address that.
So in your plans, do you plan to keep the door? Is that what you're?
It has to stay.
Okay, it has to stay.
Because if we were to do anything with the door,
Okay,
we would have to change the exterior, which is off the table.
okay.
Now, it will not be usable. We discussed whether we could put something over it. Like right now, there is something over it. Like there's a shelving rung. You could not get out of it.
Right.
But you can't go in it either. So anyway, we were discussing potential options. But from my perspective, like you say, the history, I think, in what is the proposed adult space would be kind of a unique thing to feature. This library is the oldest integrated library in the state of Virginia that still exists as a public library. So that piece of history is an interesting thing that we should highlight about. We were way ahead of our time. So it's a neat feature of this space. Like you say, the pushback, from the public could be high.
Where's the ramp?
So the ramp is right on the back side of the meeting room there.
Right here.
This door,
Yes,
Yeah.
but they're talking about this door.
yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Could I ask a couple of questions?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
So my first question is, at what point do we plan to get representatives from the county? Especially, I know in the past, like the Board of Supervisor member for that specific branch has kind of been involved, at least on new bills. Is there any plan to get Board of Supervisor members involved to get their input?
I think that's a great idea, particularly once we have Board of Trustees kind of blessing to move forward, because now we go into the feedback phase. And I think that would be very useful. I don't know if it's Stoneman's district. It is, okay. So it would be the vice chair bringing him into the conversations would be useful.
Okay, and my other question has to do with estimates as far as cost.
Right now, we do not have any estimates on what this will cost. Now, if this is what if we say we like this plan in principle, then that's when we start getting into numbers. Because right now it's kind of concept of design phase. And as we go forward, what it'll be is picking out materials, coming up with the furniture, what specifically we want changed interior with some of the suggestions of, removing partitions and walls and those kind of things. So that's coming next.
Okay, thank you.
But that's not budgeted for.
No, that would be, my proposal is if we like whatever the final plan is, that would be a reserve fund allocation.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Do we have any idea of a timeline? Do you
mean
have a goal?
Starting? You mean starting the project?
Yeah.
I mean, in an ideal world, it would be fiscal year 27. As we adopt our new strategic plan, spaces and facilities is a big piece of this. And from my perspective, I don't particularly want to do multiple projects at one time. We have funds available for the Ashland and Atlee branch that we would like to spend in future years, but it's difficult when we've got, to me, this is the most pressing. This is the highest priority just because it hasn't been touched in a long time, but it also really needs a lot of work that we want to kind of pair this with our partners in Hanover. So to me, this is kind of...
So the basement would be getting its fixed while this is getting its.
Exactly. Exactly.
It would, in a sense, be more cautious instead of having people come out twice.
Yeah. And it's the same contractor because the exact same company did the evaluation of the basement space as well. So it would be the same architect doing the same this work to this point. Anyway.
How long of it, like, how long would this work? How long would the library be closed?
I don't know. I mean, at least based on what projects I've done in the past, you're probably talking about at least a few months.
Okay.
It's a small space, but nothing ever goes as planned exactly. With an 85-year-old building, I would predict that when we start taking out walls, we're going to find things that we have to fix that we don't realize today. And
But would that be on Hanover if there's something actually wrong with the structure?
well, structure, the structure of the building is on Hanover.
Okay.
Now, whether they're going to fund doing something about it is a whole different, because Dana and I have talked pretty extensively. If you look at the space, if you look at the exterior of the walls, the grading needs redone to prevent the water flowing in. The roof and decking, the roof and gutters are a big part of the reason the water's allowed to run down. Those gutters are 3-inch, which is not by any modern standard. The other big problem is a lot of the foundation issues that have been caused by water over the years. You can stick your hand into some of the brickwork that has broken apart. Now, will they be fixing that as part of this? That is outside of my knowledge. So, the basement and the asbestos are the things that I know will be working on. Whether they're going to do anything with the exterior, the foundation, no idea.
So we could be fixing up they could be fixing up this building for us to have this problem in 5 years?
My goal is that's a no.
I would like to bring up the idea that as we do increase our desire for outreach, which has become a new focus, and in doing so, more people in the Hanover area, I think, will become aware of the problems at this branch. And I think that it's not unreasonable to perhaps consider the fact that there might be people interested in donating to help
Yeah, I agree. And part of
this branch.
part of my three-pronged strategy is Hanover will help with the portions that they've agreed to. The board will approve some monies from the reserve fund, and then the other thing, I've been doing a lot of work on the history of this building because there is unique features, and you know, Mr. Walters talked about several of them, which opens up the opportunities of grant funding.
Well, also,
and then fundraising for the public. So there's kind of three prongs: donations and grants, one; reserve funds, and then our partners in Hanover.
well, also even sponsorships, that people would come in and, just like when Goochland was renovating their pet shelter, people could sponsor a room for spay-neuter or something, and
One thing I
Yeah,
talked
you get
about,
some-
one thing I talked about for that building particularly, because my wife and I have done this at our church and other organizations. At our church, we have this like tree in the foyer, and it has all these bronze leaves on it. And you know, on there it says, you know, whatever it says, I forget, Zachary Robertson family or whatever. But I mean, we bought that.
yeah.
We gave them $1,000 for their capital project, whatever they were working on, and that was a piece of. We put our names on it. So things like that
Well,
are potential opportunities
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, I think if people hear that we've got 3-inch gutters and that is creating a real problem that's going to just perpetuate even more trouble, I'm sure there's people that would come through for that. Yeah, I mean, I
agree.
I know
there's
that-
generations.
'cause
There's generations of citizens that have used this building, and
Yeah.
my conversation, maybe a little more blunt than this, but I'm worried that if we don't do something to save this building, it will not be savable.
Yeah,
Right.
that's my fear right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and there's generations of people that have experience coming into this library, you know, going to story times, checking out books. So there's a love of this building as well as its location and its history. It's all worth preserving and saving. So that I totally agree. I think the community will to some degree rally.
And then what would be the plans for staff? Would they be turning into an outreach program for a few months?
They would probably be relocated
Okay.
to nearby branches. It does, to some degree, depend on the duration. Because if we're talking between 1 and 3 months, that's fairly short period of time. Now, they would be able to continue to do some
Right.
work.
I highly doubt it's gonna be a 1 to 3 months.
Exactly. And if it's more long duration, they will be camping probably at Atlee, at Mechanicsville, nearby spots. The reality too is there's always vacancies, just natural attrition at these buildings and buildings around the county. So we can use them strategically to kind of fill gaps temporarily too during a renovation.
Okay.
So,
Zach?
yes, ma'am.
Barb, I think that, I know that on all 3 of the proposed areas to put in an elevator, it says not recommended,
Yes.
you know, on each of them. But I really think that if we want this community to use this library, we've got to have viable access, you know, for the older community, now being part of that older community. And I think that, yeah, I'd love to see us at least pick one of the 3 options that we think, and you know, at some point might be able to be viable. And I think Barbara was right when she said, you know, you go to the community, there may be an elevator company that we can say, would you like to help us with this? You know, that kind of thing.
Well, I philosophically agree. The question always comes down to time and money. And it doesn't mean we can't ask, but I think realistically, if we're gonna put an elevator in there, we need to get Hanover County's strong support of that idea, because not only the additional costs. I mean, I can only imagine that having to put in the elevator is going to increase the cost of the project probably by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not only because of the elevator that has to go in, but the work involved to get the elevator in. And I think we're really going to need, and as you saw with two of the projects, or 2 of the proposed locations for that, the one thing I thought about doing, and this was my original suggestion to them, and they did not include it, and I would have to go back and ask why. If you look in the see the stairs in the corner?
Yeah.
So my original idea was, well, why can we not put? It's kind of like not quite spiralized, but they're real tight stairs that lead right up. My suggestion was, well, it's on the very exterior of the wall. It's on the far side of the room. Why not put an elevator there? Because then it opens up in both places in the common space.
Yeah.
So I'll pull it up just on the screen so you can see.
He's
But,
right here.
well, so my suggestion was you put it in this corner here where the stairs are. Then when it goes up into the top floor, it would also come out there. Now, they could have not included that because it's part, like the roofing is not, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't include that. I'm sure they have a reason, and I would just have to ask them.
You know,
Because-
it almost looks like, Zach, that they may not have included it. It looks like in the basement, it's not even part of the building. Where that corner where those stairs are.
Those stairs actually don't go down into the basement.
Could they?
Is the elevator going to go to the basement?
No,
No.
the
Yeah.
plan was not to put it in the basement because the basement we're not going to make.
That's not
Use of.
public access, right?
Exactly. And we're going to use it for internal purposes, but it's not going to be like readily available to the public to go down into the basement.
Right. I think that we ought to go back to them and see if they could
Put it there.
give us an estimate on something there, because that does make more sense. And just have it only go from the first floor to the second floor.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too that I don't, and I just don't know if the reason they did that is because it's not from a size perspective. If you're looking at page 15 and you see the top floor, the redesign, it's potential that it's just not enough. Like you have to cut that room too small. So it's a coding issue or something. I don't know. So I will definitely follow up to see if there's a potential of adding a elevator there.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Well, the other thing is you'd have to build it around this window.
Okay, well, so all that to say, we really just need to make a motion to enter the feedback phase.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
So may I have a motion to enter the feedback phase of the Hanover Branch feasibility study?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So it is approved to enter the feedback phase.
Okay.
All right.
I think the 30s.
Do we have any other business to discuss? Anyone? No? Hearing none, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.